Okay, today I'm going to walk you guys through my dynamic lower body warm-up when I hit legs, which I find is particularly important if you're going to do a squat variation. Really important to work on your ankle mobility and your hip mobility to get the best out of the movement and complete a squat with good form. So these are the exercises that I like to do. Now for me specifically, I have some stubborn hips, so I like to really open up and loosen my hips for a squat. So I go through forward hip swings and also lateral hip swings as well. For a forward hip swing, you're just going to stand at the bar, keep your core nice and tight, bum tucked in. You're going to bring your leg out and back. And you're just going to do that for about 30 seconds to loosen up your hip joint. And then when you're done, you're going to go into a lateral version. So I like to just kind of twist my body this way, and then we're going left to right. And just repeat on the other side. Another exercise I like to do is to help me get nice and low on my squat. So I like to actually go ahead and do some very slow bodyweight squats to get me used to getting nice and low on the movement. So for that, all you do, you get into your squat position. So if you don't already know, feet about hip width apart, bum tucked in, core nice and tight, and then slowly come down, hold that for a couple seconds and come back up. I find it easier to do this holding onto something and then using the pole to kind of guide me down into a really low squat. Hold that and then climb back up and repeat. Okay, so another exercise, this one's a bit weird. I think it's called a 90-90. So what we're going to do, I'm going to sit our butts on the floor and you know what, we're going to spread our legs. Right, then what we're going to do, we're going to go one way. So we're going to bend and bend so that we're in this position, and I'm going to rotate into the other direction and keep doing that. So I have to hold my palms behind me and then keep going like this. Now one of my weaknesses when it comes to squatting is actually my ankle mobility. My ankle mobility fucking sucks. So I like to warm up my ankles, and one of my all-time favorite ways to do this is through using a bench or a box, and then I will place one foot on the bench and I'll actually then drive my knee as far forward as I can, keeping the entire foot planted on the bench. It's very important, and then come back up. So when you're warming up, it's important to do dynamic movements to warm up the joints for your range of motion. So that's why we want to rock all the way and then back up like this. Another one of my all-time favorite warm-ups for the ankles is what I call a dynamic lunge. So for these, you're going to get into a lunge position. So have your feet in that hip width position and then get into a lunge on the floor. So make sure you have that right angle at the knee there, nice and squared. And then much like what we just did, we're actually going to rock forward as far as we can, keeping our heel planted on the floor, and then back up. And of course, repeat on the other side. I don't do this one all the time, but sometimes I like to do a Cossack squat or a side lunge, whatever you want to call it. So get into a very wide stance here. Put all your pressure on one leg. We'll start with the right, and then side lunge like this. And then repeat on the other side and keep going. I actually like to lean forward while I do this and focus on touching my toe. This is really good for the hips and the ankles. Final exercise we're going to do for the warm-up is a calf raise. Really good for getting your ankles more mobile and flexible. Now, for the purposes of working on your ankle mobility, I do encourage using a step for this. And while I'm really focusing on going really slow to work on the mobility, I like to hold on to something as well. So just put your toes on the edge of the step, come all the way down so you can really feel that stretch, bum tucked in, core tight, and then come up onto your tiptoes and then back down. there you have it, a nice dynamic warm up for your next leg day. Warming up is very important for prepping the joints and the muscles for the exercises that you're going to do and reducing your risk of injury as well. So definitely do this next time you have a leg day, especially if there's a squat variation involved, because warming up your hips and ankles will really elevate your training in that regard. Give this a try, and if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.